The problems facing the southern resident killer whales can feel overwhelming, and it can be hard to imagine that regular people just like you and me can make a difference. But that's exactly what we're about to show you, and we'll start right here in West Seattle.
You just look for, like a fluttering tail in the water, or a lot of times they see you first and they'll dart around, and so you can just watch the water.
Years of fishing have prepared volunteer Dennis Hinton for his daily checks of Fauntleroy Creek.
I feel very childlike. I mean, really, like a kid in a candy store.
For decades, the creek was essentially dead. It served as a drainage ditch with dirty water that fish couldn't even swim up.
It went the way of many urban streams and became a dumping ground.
Urban stormwater is lethal to coho salmon. This video shows what happens when coho are put in the toxic mix of runoff. They gasp for breath and eventually die.
What happens in the ocean happens in the ocean. We cannot control it. But what we can control is the health of the habitat for juveniles.
Judy Pickens bought the property several decades ago, but admits she didn't initially want to get into salmon habitat restoration. Thanks to her willingness and a lot of volunteers, new vegetation, a fish ladder, and other improvements have turned the once dirty drainage ditch into a creek that welcomes dozens and sometimes hundreds of coho every year.
They are great advertisement for the major environmental work that is going on and needs to go on outside of the city.
Though this creek is home to coho, it's Chinook salmon that make up the main prey for the southern resident killer whales. But coho are often seen as an indicator for salmon health, which is why Pickens looks at the creek in her backyard as an important messenger for all salmon.
They will recognize that salmon are critical to orcas, whether those salmon are Chinook or chum. It doesn't really matter. They're salmon. It's a simple message. Salmon are important, so how do we keep them here?
So I'll do a couple of scoops here and see what we come up with.
We didn't find any fish on our search, but Hinton will be back tomorrow, just like he is every day.
This is not the Columbia River, obviously, but it's a little something that we can do, and feel real good about, and feel close to nature, and in our own minuscule way, saving the world, one fish at a time.
Fauntleroy Creek here in West Seattle is a small urban waterway, but the ship canal that runs under the Aurora Bridge is huge, and the roadway above it is a real problem. The stormwater running off of it when it rains looks like coffee, and it's toxic for marine life, but the area under the bridge is now getting a makeover with rain gardens that trap and filter stormwater so that it is much cleaner when it finally flows into Puget Sound. Rain gardens are one of the main ways scientists say we can clean up stormwater runoff and reduce the amount of pollution in Puget Sound that's hurting the orcas. And we're never too young to get started, as one group of elementary school students in Tacoma recently learned.
Careful, careful.
It may look,
all right, good job, guys,
and even feel like recess. The kids like to play in the dirt.
Kinda true.
But this group of students at Sherman Elementary School in Tacoma is working on a class project.
We shred it like this.
They're building a rain garden with the help of a couple adults.
Mulch is an important thing to keep the weeds from growing. It keeps moisture around the plants. And why do we like rain gardens?
Because they help orcas.
Because they help orcas.
Yeah.
Rob Crable is with Defenders of Wildlife, and this frenzy of digging in dirt is part of a program called Orcas Love Rain Gardens.
Right here? Okay.
It'll filter stormwater runoff from their school's roof and keep it from flowing down drains and into Puget Sound. Just like this rain garden, the largest of its kind in the world right now.
When it's raining, this fills up and it's black like tar, and if you were to touch it, it's sticky at times, to the point of one day I might have done that and had to wash my hands 3 or 4 times to get the stickiness off of it.
Jessica Knickerbocker spearheaded the construction of the Point Defiance Urban Rain Garden, which filters stormwater from 750 surrounding acres. On an average rainy day, that adds up to 8 million gallons of filtered stormwater.
Most of the city of Tacoma doesn't provide water quality treatment of its stormwater sewer before it goes into Puget Sound. So all of the dirty contaminants from our roads and cars and homes goes basically in our pipes and out to Puget Sound untreated.
The rain garden at Sherman Elementary is smaller, but no less important.
All of these students are going to become the next generation of leaders in Tacoma and Washington. And green stormwater infrastructure is a low cost and, in my opinion, common sense thing to do to reduce our impact on Puget Sound, salmon, and orcas. So it's important to get these kids to start thinking about how what we do up here on land is connected to what happens in the ocean as soon as possible.
Protecting orcas and their habitat may seem daunting, like an insurmountable challenge. Would it make you sad if they disappear?
Yeah. Because orcas look so smooth and pretty.
But if we can learn anything from these students,
All right, you guys spread that out, make it look good.
it's that working together is the best way to start. Reagan, is there anything more fun for a kid than playing in the dirt?
No.
No. Does that mean that protecting the environment can actually be fun?
Yeah, it can. It can. If you love animals, like orcas and stuff like that, it can really be fun because they're helping those animals.
Last year, the world watched as J35, one of the mothers, pushed her dead calf around Puget Sound for 2 weeks. And then soon after that, J50, one of the calves, died. That's why this year, the birth of 2 new calves, one in the L pod and one in the J pod, have given people a lot of hope. It's shown that the whales have not given up yet, and neither should we.